And we're live. So welcome to Lee Stafford Education online live. My name's Lee Stafford and I'm going to be your host for the next hour. This is Paul Watts, one of our staffs. We'll be coming back to him in a second. So we've got another great show lined up for you today, guys. I was just talking to Paul about it before we came on. Really exciting shape. And it's all about mixing the recipes up that you're learning in college. So it's about either stretching them recipes or squeezing them recipes or adding recipes together to give you guys more of a repertoire when you go out into the industry and to make your salon ready, so you can create all these different looks from using the actual recipes that you're using day in, day out in the college. So Paul is one of our very, very special staffs. I know that a lot of you have seen Paul already. He's a multi-award winner, multi-salon owner. Paul is a platform artist a global platform artist for Joyco. Used to be Red King, because that's where we first met, right? Yeah. And Paul's just an all-round really talented, great guy. And I forgot to mention, Paul is also now creating his own YouTube channel, which is really, really interesting as well. So he's got his fingers in a lot of pies. So guys, please let me introduce to you Paul Watts.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the intro, Lee. It's always bang on with that. Leaves me with nothing else to really talk about myself. But today I'm super excited to share this with you. So this is a recipe that I've mashed together, something I use day in, day out in the salon. It's this lovely lady just here. And you can see we've got a one length haircut here, nice and strong base, but there's something interesting happening around the face. And I come up with this recipe mashup because when you qualify, or you might even find it now, that a lot of clients, they'll come into the salon and it's sort of like a bit of a meme, a bit of a funny thing that hairdressers joke about. And we often talk about those clients that say, I don't want too much off the length. I don't want any layers. I don't want a fringe, but I want something completely different. And it stumps a lot of people, which is why I mashed these two together, because we're giving them exactly what they want, which is the one length, just a trim, just to make sure we put in that nice blunt line through there. We're not putting any exaggerated layers in there. If we do put any layers in today, they're going to be completely invisible. But what we can manipulate is normally around the face. As long as we don't go too short, as long as we're not putting in a blunt fringe or anything sort of around the eyes, because that's normally where people find that if they're wearing glasses or when they're working, they lean forward and their hair sort of interferes with their eyes. That is normally when clients are a little bit sort of unhappy with not wanting anything anything too different, which is why this is going to be a perfect recipe for you guys today. And I do this in the salon all the time, as I said. It's something that I get those clients coming in as well, not wanting anything different, but they want something different. So today we're going to be breaking down this look for you today. And it's simply the one length below recipe, as we all know. And it's just mashed together with the long grad. But as you know, with the long grad, we get a lot of texture, a lot of layering. And with this, there isn't any layering through there. You can see the length there is completely connected to the ends. But we have got this little bit of shape through there. And when we go through the sectioning pattern with my model here, I'll break down the sectioning pattern so you can see. And the sectioning pattern is simply the one length below. The only thing we do differently is that section which is recession to just below the crown. That is where we incorporate the long grad. And that's the piece where we elevate up to the middle, our 45-degree angle forward, and the hair coming in the 45-degree through there. We cut it back and then we bring the hair elevated to that central parting. And there's not much. So with this haircut, what you'll get is when we work through the back, we start from the occipital bone and it's 3 sections up. When we go to the sides, it's 3 sections up. So it's from the temporal to recession and then the remainder. And I've broken it down simply for you on top. It's exactly the same. We'll come through 3 sections. So that's all you've got to remember. But yeah, I'm super excited to share this recipe with you. And any questions you want to get, just throw them in the comment box. Lee will throw them all at me, and let's see how you're feeling today. So get some emojis in the chat box today. We want to see how you're feeling. Smiley faces, thumbs up, can be whatever it is. If you're feeling crazy, put one of those crazy emojis in there, and we'd like to see how you're feeling today. But I'll bring my model in so you can see a little bit more. And then we'll get on with it. So you can see here something which is super, super bang on trend. We've got this really sort of long bangs area. So if they're working out, they can literally tie that up and it will sit in with there. If we break that up, it just looks really, really cool.
It looks
really cool. Where it both ways, if we want to put a side parting in there, we can take that. Let me just drop this mannequin stand down a little bit.
Is the one length on the underneath disconnected from the top?
Slightly. So it's slightly disconnected purely for the fact that we are over directing and elevating this up. I'm just showing you a side fringe there.
So it's a bit softer than the long grade, but a tiny bit more punchy than the one length below.
100%, yeah. So this is something which is for your toolkit, guys. When you get on the salon floor and you've got those clients, as I say, want something a little bit different, but they want to keep as much length as possible. You can see we've got all that length. If I lift that fringe up, you can see the length starts from there, goes all the way down to the end. So what Lee's talking about with the disconnection, I will show you. So we have the section from recession to just below the crown. This is elevated up through to here, and I'll show you there's a tiny bit of disconnection.
Oh yeah.
Which is just that little bit there. So if we were to carry on with that and bring that up into there, there is only a tiny bit of disconnection that we would be looking at connecting. And then when we go back to the crown, the reason I kept it to the crown and not like with the long grad, because with the long grad, we go to the high point of the head, don't we? And that's where we sort of section off both sides. I've taken this right back into the crown area because we want to create a little bit of an invisible layer. And because it sort of transitions into a little triangle, we end up tapering it so much that we get little bits.
It's like an invisible layer then. It goes round to practically nothing, doesn't it?
Practically nothing, yeah. And I mean, you can see there. It's just one length. But if we sort of open that up, you can then see those layers coming into play. And this is great as well for those clients that want to keep their hair long, but they want to get volume. And how hard is it? When we're doing like a big round brush blow dry and we're trying to get all that body in length like this, it's quite difficult.
Yeah.
So putting in these little disconnected layers in there, that's what you'll have to blow dry. Having it that much shorter is going to give you a little bit more body.
I love the idea behind it, and I love the look of it, Paul. It's really soft and natural, isn't it? And very wearable, and now, isn't it?
But yeah, bang on trend when it comes to it. Because I did a trend video on YouTube the other day, and it was talking about the lengths. And yeah, pixie cuts and bobs and everything are back on trend, or they never left us. But what is coming back is the longer lengths. But people don't want too much disconnection within it. So if we can just disconnect that very slightly through there, just add a little bit of fun around the face, and just think at how much volume somebody could put a roller in there, and then to get so much body and volume through that front.
But you haven't got a lot of layers around the back, have you?
Nothing.
No.
Just if we pull up, so there's the crown there. We do our section just below the crown, so we incorporate a little bit of that into it.
So it falls over the back, right?
Yeah. So there is our layer. There's our length. So you can see that is where it's falling. But it's completely invisible. So yeah, that is the finished result. So you've got a bit of an idea of where we're going to head to with the haircut.
Nice. I'm
going to change mannequins. I'm going to make a start.
Great, mate. Loving it already.
But any questions, guys?
Smiley face from Newtown College. Hello, guys. How you doing? Lisa, Newtown. Michael Saunders from Denmark. That's right, isn't it, Mike?
It is. Hello, Mike. Hello, Jane.
How you doing? So is this quicker to do than the long grad, Paul?
Well, as you know, long grad is one of my favourite recipes because it is super quick and gives you that impact result sort of not too long, to be honest. 10 minutes? That front, as soon as you get bang on like with your big tens and you're elevating up, it doesn't take you much time at all. But this is just something which is a little bit adding a little bit of fun to a otherwise quite a boring one length haircut.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with like super poker straight long hair. I absolutely love it. If you check out my Instagram, the past sort of 2 weeks, I've been doing really long hair, but we've been putting these fringes in, and this is the technique that I've been using.
Nice.
Right. So I'm just going to break down the sectioning. So just so you can see, just get it there. So you can see we'll start from recession, and it comes all the way back to just below the crown. Crown is sitting around about there. That's where we're coming to.
How similar is that to the one length below normally, Paul?
This is all the one length below sectioning pattern, mate.
So it's exactly the same pre-sectioning pattern from the one length below.
Everything.
Wow.
I couldn't make it any simpler for you guys. Like to have this in your kit bag, just knowing that you can change up a haircut like that. So you put your one length haircut in, and then say you get halfway through it, and we have clients that say, "Oh, actually, I quite fancy something a little bit different, or I quite fancy some invisible layers halfway through the haircut." And that is what we get. That is day-to-day life of the salon. So say we're on our temporal section here. We've sectioned through, we've brought it back, we're cutting, and then the client sees how long that's sitting, and then they think, actually, I'd quite like a little bit of shape through here. You know, you've still got this section here to manipulate. So that is where you can then start to bring that up here rather than bring it down, and that's what's going to create that shape.
This must be a very quick haircut because you haven't pre-cut anything, have you?
No.
So you're very confident that you can knock this out quick and talk. You know what I mean?
And talk.
Yeah.
So just jumping back to the sectioning pattern, so so we've gone from recession to just below the crown. We then come to just in front of the ear, exactly the same as the one length below, guys. And then we take that section to just below the crown. So that's where we are there. Same on the other side. And then with the back, we've got our central section that we put in. And then we come from the middle of the ear to the occipital bone. And that bone is that sort of little knobbly bit on the back of our head. That's the piece there that we want to aim for. So middle of the ear to that little knobbly bit, the occipital bone. And then what we're going to do, grab our scissors, just making sure you guys can see. And then we're going to do the inside out method. So just in the comments, just let us know what the inside out method is as I crack on.
Is this a look popular in the salon?
Massive.
What you do all the time, isn't it, Paul?
Absolutely massive, yeah. Because what I was saying before is that people want to experiment, but people are quite safe. We've gone through a lockdown where people have started to enjoy the length of their hair. They've got used to having it longer, or maybe just that little bit more, not boring, but a little bit grown out. They can manage it. They don't want these short layers. So with what we're doing today is something that you can incorporate their wants and needs of keeping that length and no layering. But we're just going to disconnect that top piece, which is going to add a little bit of fun, a little bit of face framing. And with the face framing, that's the piece that I really think that you can really play about with. Because as long as we're keeping the length through here, like you girls tell me, you want to be able to feel the length around about here to still know that your hair feels long. If we were cutting it back a bit sort of like mullet-esque, but we're not, we're just heavily layering and shattering that front, you tend to start pulling here because you want that length, and then you start to bring it over your shoulders and keeping the hair length here. Whereas with this, we're going to maintain all of the length, everything through here, but we're just going to manipulate that top section to add that little bit of face frame. And where we're taking it today is to the chin. So not really short. We can go shorter. I normally take it to around about the bridge of the nose if I'm putting in some bangs. But because we take it that triangle to that point behind, just below the crown, it just tapers off so nicely.
Like a towel, isn't it? Like a towel.
Yeah. Just tapers in, and then it just blends in.
Yeah. Could you answer this question? Now, forgive me. How do we pronounce this? My dyslexia is going into overdrive.
Is it Ceres or Keris?
Keris. Could you answer Keris's question, please, Paul?
I have a question for Lee. Why is there so many sections in the Lee Stafford recipes? Great question. Thank you for the question. So the reason for all the sectioning, and don't think of it as there's loads of sectioning. What we do is we put a roadmap into our recipe books, into our clients' heads. And the reason we do that is because without a roadmap and you were going to a destination, how would you get there? So what we like to do is, with this section pattern in particular, I know that I'm already going to be disconnecting this piece here. And I know that this piece here, I'm going to be bringing back to maintain that length at the front. If I just brought all the hair down and started cutting it and then bringing that piece back, there might be bits which are a little bit shorter, a little bit sort of longer, a bit disconnected. Whereas this is your GPS for a haircut. And that's why we put all our sectionings in. And we're not saying that when you qualify and you do your Big Tens, you will be so in tune with the sectioning patterns that you can break it down a little bit simpler. So like in salon, we could be having this sectioning pattern, but maybe where we're thinking this sides, they could be incorporated into these back pieces because we know we're going to bring those back in. But that is only when you smash your Big Tens, and that could be seen as another bit of a mashup where we know we're going to be bringing those back, so we're incorporating them into this sort of bulk of the hair. But until you've smashed your Big Tens, I would just stick with the sectioning pattern and then let your creativity run free.
I mean, it's interesting what you're saying there, Paul, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, if you didn't have that pre-sectioning in that haircut now, it wouldn't give you the final look that you've just shown us. It's the pre-sectioning and your twist on the creativity by literally doing a long grade on top and not connecting it to the underneath has enabled you to get the finished look. But if the pre-sectioning wasn't there, you'd have never have got it, would you?
No. And that is it. I mean, when it comes to it, say I did a hot cross bun section. We all know what a hot cross bun section is. And I just did that and cut my one length in. And then my client asked me, I want something around the front. And then I just guessed it. Imagine if I just thought, right, I'm going to pull this bit out and bring that up. And then I'll come here, bring that out and start cutting. But this side could be down here where I start to section through. This side could be up here. And because I haven't really got a sectioning pattern to it, it will just throw it all off. But as I said as well, because I know where I'm going with it, I know the sort of the limitations and the creativity you can have with your sectioning patterns, which is why we're bringing this to you today, to be able to show you that if we get halfway through the haircut and your client wants to say something different, we know that we've got these sections here to manipulate. Hope that makes sense.
It does. Thank you for that question. That was a great question. Paul, do you think that you could do the kind of work that you do without the sectioning?
No, plain and simple. No, because I wouldn't have any idea where I'm going. Even with colour, I pre-section all my colour work. There's a haircut I do similar to this, which is a sort of like a take on a few of the staff recipes, I suppose, the LSE recipes that I mash up. I think 3 to create something a little bit disconnected, graduated barb into a long grad at the front and then into a short back and sides on top, which is like a real sort of texturized back to front mullet. It's sort of photographic work. But if I didn't have this sectioning, I wouldn't have a clue where I was going.
Yeah, and Lisa follows on very nicely because Lisa said once you know the rules, you can break the rules. And because it's like playing the piano. Once you learn how to play the piano, then you can make up your own tunes, can't you? But you need to learn how to play it first. You need to follow other people's tunes to begin with to learn, don't you?
100%. And that's it. I mean, our recipe books are our music books, or like the omelette recipe, a food ingredients book. That's what our recipe books are for you guys. It basically breaks down these haircuts and gives you the fundamentals to achieve it. But what we're doing with these masterclasses is showing you how you can then break the rules, still sticking in line with what we do, but incorporating different recipes and that to create a completely different outcome.
Yeah. And that way you're just going to give, all our students that are watching that many more styles to go out into industry with. Because, for example, guys, when you do the uniform layer and on our video, because we've worked the videos so that you don't have to use so many mannequin heads as you're going through them, the uniform layer, for example, is about that long. But if you do exactly the same recipe, but you cut it that short, you've got a pixie cut. So this is what these masterclasses are all about, showing you how you can use the recipes that you're learning on a day-to-day basis, but getting different outcomes by doing the kind of thing Paul's doing right now.
Definitely. And that is the beauty of it. And that's what we discussed in lockdown. I mean, we've been doing these masterclasses where we were just doing short grad, long grad recipes, but we wanted to open up your minds and give you a toolkit, sticking within the guidelines and the rules of LSE, but get you salon floor ready. That if you come and work for me, say, and I said, right, trade test, I want you to do a 1 length haircut, but I want something that a little bit different, something bang on trend, but I want you to maintain the length. And if you come in and did this and you started showing me what you were doing to manipulate the shape, and like with what all the other staffs have been doing throughout all of this. So we're all manipulating it slightly to give you another haircut or another 2 haircuts to be able to take with you onto the salon floor. So I've just put my length in and I'm just sectioning up. So again, 3 sections at the back, and I'm using the inside out method. So did anybody say what the inside out method was?
We got one from Lisa. Thanks, Lisa. Inside out, cutting from the middle to the sides.
That is it. That is it. And why do we do it?
That's another good question. Why do we do it, guys? Why do we cut from the middle out to the sides and not just do that if we're right-handed or that if we're left-handed? Thanks, Lisa.
So you can see now, this is my inside out. So I've cut this way, and now I'm keeping my body to the back of the section, so we know we're cutting through there. But then all I do is sort of like just change my body slightly. I bring that hair back. If we had shoulders, that would be resting on the shoulders, and I start with the points of my scissor going in, and then when I get the length, that's where my scissors then start to really get in.
I think Lisa's got it bang on, Paul. So it's level.
That's it. Thank you, Lisa.
Why is it level? What would happen, guys, if we cut it just from one side to the other like that, or like that if he was left-handed? What might happen?
So I'll show you. So I'll put my guide. My guide's already there. I'm cutting in through there, which is my guide. Now, if I'm to cut from here, but my guide's there, if I don't cut straight and if I cut down or if I cut up into it, because from here, I've got my guide, which is coming through, but I'm sort of guessing, aren't I? I'm sort of looking and being like, right, is that it? That bit there? Whereas now, if I just cut this through, I know that I'm following my guide. And then just making sure that we are bringing back as well. So we're not rounding off the sides. We want this to be 1 length. And one thing, I mean, you can round it off. I'll talk about this now. So I give my clients an option. When I'm talking about haircuts, I love the way that the A-line 1 length or A-line bobs sit and kiss over the shoulder. And what I mean by that A-line is that when we start to over-direct the sides back and bring it to here, because it's traveling backwards, we're creating and we're sort of gaining a bit of length because it's not in its natural fall, which is basically to the side. We're bringing it all the way back. So to here, there's our guide, and then we would cut our section in. And then when that sits, it would then sit here in its natural fall at the side, and then you get that slight sort of increase in length. But there's nothing saying that we couldn't turn our model to the side or our client to the side, bring it down. There's our guide. There's nothing saying we couldn't do that. And cut it into it. Yeah, square it off.
So we've got a few questions here. What if you're ambidextrous?
Yeah.
That would help, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah. If you're ambidextrous,
you're winning. You're absolutely crushing it. If you're
you're winning.
But we've got a lot of body positions here from Lisa and Tony.
Yeah.
Where would your body position be if you was cutting one side, and where would it be if you was cutting the other side, Paul? Would you just move it over to the opposite side?
So I'll show you. So if we're talking about the sides, if I was cutting it, squaring it off, my body would be parallel to my section. So I can bring it down. I have my existing guide there, and then I would take that off through here. So my body position would be here. I'd then get my next section, drop it down and cut in. If I want to create an A-line shape, my body position won't move from the back. So I'll be here directly behind our central parting that we've put in. And then what we're going to do, if we had shoulders, this would be sitting on the client's shoulders, but then we're going to over direct this piece back to where we were cutting from. So you can see the hair from that front piece is traveled all the way back here, and then we just cut that off.
All about the body position, mate, isn't it? It really is. It's so important, isn't it?
It is, yeah. To create good haircuts and really consistent results, it's all about body position.
Yeah.
So our first section was at the temporal. Now we're going to section off at the recession. Again,
a couple of questions for you in a minute when you're ready.
Yeah, far
I've got some journalists from America.
Okay.
Who want to talk to me about colour, which isn't my area of expertise, but I know it is yours. So,
okay.
You cool to go now?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, what are some surprising practices that could be prematurely fading your hair colour, like washing hair too much, not protecting it in the sun? What else could be prematurely fading colour?
So, overwashing, environmental factors. You've got heated mechanical appliances, straightening, tonguing, blow drying. You've got swimming. You've got too much sulfates in whatever you're using. It could be hard water or soft water, which could also affect the hair's porosity levels, which would lose colour. And then there was
the hard water. Would it be the hard water that would?
Yeah. And then there was one more that I was thinking about then. When it comes to me, I'll let you know.
Okay. And what hair care steps or products should we never skip in order to preserve our hair colour?
Shampoo. Shampoo. That is the number one for me when it comes to recommending aftercare. That's the basic that people need to be looking after.
You can strip out their colour quite easily, you mean?
Yeah, if they're using some shampoo, which is, say, a clarifying shampoo, but say it's not a clarifying shampoo, say it's of that sort of pH level, which is going to open up the cuticle to allow the colour to drain out quicker. Something with too much salt in, which is an abrasive that can open up the cuticle. But yeah, fundamentally, if clients are working on a budget, for me, I would say, right, let's start you off with a good shampoo. Conditioners just basically condition. If their budget doesn't stretch, but a good shampoo, conditioner, and treatment is a regime that they need to be doing. People who invest hundreds of pounds in a hair service, and then they're sort of scrimping on a good shampoo or conditioner, it's sort of you're fighting a losing battle as such.
Pushing water uphill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and last one.
Yeah.
Should we be avoiding any product or styling steps on coloured hair?
Should we be avoiding any? As long as you're protecting it, heat protection. But should you avoid any styling steps? I mean, if you're straightening your hair and say tonging it every day, then yeah, try and cut that down to sort of 3 days, because heat is just going to be being passed over the hair so much, it's just going to make your colour fade.
Yeah.
Try for an alternative of that, you could try heated rollers. You could try sort of ragging to get the curls. But
you could put it in plaits, couldn't you? You
could put it in plaits, yeah.
Sleep in it.
Yeah, I think
nice little rollers in an hairnet.
Yeah.
That's how women used to go to sleep for years and years, wasn't it? You know, I mean, all credit to them. I mean, it must have been quite painful sleeping in all them rollers, don't you reckon?
Yeah, especially the old school ones, which weren't Velcro. They were sort of like in a pin.
Yeah. Yeah, what we do for fashion, eh?
I know. Well, we don't. I never slept in rollers.
Well, do you know what? Once I had some extensions, some dreadlock extensions.
Did you?
Yeah, I hadn't done an Antenna. Do you remember Antenna in South Kensington?
Yeah.
Was that before your time, Antenna?
Well, no, I remember the brand.
Yeah, because they invented hair extensions. They done Boy George and Marion and all them back in the 80s. And I always remember I had these hair extensions done in the middle of the summer, right? It was like I had the biggest tea cozy on my head. Right? And when I slept, it was honestly, it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. I took them out the next day. Took me about 8 hours to put them in. And about
God.
Oh no.
It was, yeah. I mean, nowadays I do extensions, and it's a really quick service. I mean, I can put them in about 40 minutes now.
Yeah. Do you find a lot of people are coming in for extensions, Paul?
Yeah, more than ever, to be honest.
Really? And what would you use?
What one? So I'm trained in bonding, but I also tapes. So tape extensions are the number one, which are going crazy at the minute. I haven't done any bonds for, I think, around about 3 years.
Right.
Tapes are the way forward. They're super flat, non-intrusive. They don't sort of like flip over and mat together, because it's like a nice sort of long bit of tape that's in. They just sit and hug the head shape. Right, so that is our one length put in, guys. So just nice and freshened up through there.
Nice and simple, right? Nice and simple.
Yep, so then them sides there were taken back and cut there. So you can see that hair traveling back there. And then that'll just give us an A-line shape. So you can see the length there. Look at my comb. It's going up. And that's the shape it gives.
And it's amazing, because all you've really done is cut a perfect square line at the back with your body position firmly at the back. And it gives you that beautiful, like effortless line that falls all the way through to the front, doesn't it? I mean, it looks so technical, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And if you can really crack a one length haircut, clients are going to love you, because there's not, I mean, I found one length haircut probably one of my hardest cuts to do, because it's got to be one length and perfect. It was something I really struggled with getting. And the top tip for that is going to be inside out, because I was cutting blind. I was cutting from here, trying to match that there. And I was like, sort of all over the place.
And it's even worse, Paul, when you start doing a one length above, you're right-handed, right? So this side's always long. This side's always short, isn't it? I mean, I struggled with that for years and years and years, you know, all because I was cutting from one side to the other and not inside out.
I know. Yeah. And how simple of a technique to do. Yet I never ever thought about it. And also, I mean, when you first start, and you guys will probably be able to relate to this, you first start and getting that sort of inside out method, trying to get your scissors in there, but as soon as you get it, you've cracked it.
And you only have to do it really for the first few sections, don't you? Just to get your balance, really.
Yeah. And then you've got your guide underneath, and that's it.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're on this top section. So we've done all the underneath. That is all cut. I'm just going to clip it out of the way so we don't pull any up.
And is that so also, Paul, that if you're cutting it and it falls down, you can easily separate it again?
Yeah, because if that falls there and then we had loads of hair and it's I just put that in there. The clips kept that bit there, and we're good to go.
Keeps it clean, doesn't it?
Yeah. So just a question for everybody: what do we do on how do we get that length on our long grad? What do we first do here? Let us know in the comments.
How long have you been doing this little mashup, Paul?
Since bangs have been popular, to be honest. I mean, I've loved, and all you guys watching, you know how much I love the long grad for symmetry, for connection, for the layers that you can get in within 10 minutes, as I said. But people have been coming into the salon not wanting to lose or not wanting that sort of texture through here. They want to keep it nice and strong. So it got me sort of thinking, and I thought, right, how can I make sure? Because everybody wants to be symmetrical, don't you? Everybody wants to get it, nail it, and not be sort of like that bit and then that bit and that bit and then that bit. We want to make sure that we've got a really sort of solid technique of doing it. So I just thought, what gives us the best symmetry out of every technique that we do? The long grad. So I started to have a little play around with that. And that's where this was born, to be honest. I thought, right, I'm going to do the one length below just to make sure I maintain all that length that the clients want. But I want to be able to put some bangs in there. I want to put that sort of fringe area. So then I thought, right, if I do this and I do the long grad sectioning pattern, but only do it on this top area, what would it give me? It would give me that shape. But then because we're only going to here, we're going to maintain everything below. And that's where the thought process came from.
And I suppose it was a win-win because, if it really didn't work, you could have always gone straight into a long grad, couldn't you?
Yeah, could have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, imagine if we did this and then the client was like, oh my God, I absolutely love the sort of texture of it around my face. Is there any way we could do a little bit more of that? I mean, what do we do, guys? All we do is we've gone to the recession. We then start working all the way down here, bringing all that back up, taking that off, and then we've added loads of texture without having to really do anything else because we're basically halfway through it here. We've got this bottom piece here that we could section through, elevate, and then it'd be all connected all the way through, and the client would have loads of layers.
Got a good question here from Leanne. She said, if the client had curly hair, type 3, would you still cut it with a freehand inside out, or would you add finger tension?
Well, I wouldn't add finger tension to begin with, because if you're adding finger tension on curly hair, what does curly hair do? So it bounces. So if we were to use the bigger teeth of our comb and we were to comb it down, we've got little to no tension through there. We've just got control. So then we could be cutting that line in, next section down, cutting that line in. But then as soon as we get our fingers in there, that line that we've got there, and if we were to pull down, we could be pulling it probably an inch and a bit lower, because we're stretching the hair. Whereas with this, it's just keeping it in its natural full and natural position. But then once we have brought it all down and we've done all of our sections, and you want to make sure we've got a really blunt line, you could then get your fingers in there. I wouldn't suggest really pulling, but you can get your fingers in there to add a little bit more tension to make sure we've got a nice blunt line, and then cut that in.
Cool.
Right. So I've cut this to the chin. This is our section. I'm now going to, like we do with the long grad, I'm going to see the guide. You can all see that guide there.
Yeah, see that clearly, mate.
And then what are the angles, guys? So we use angles when we're cutting this, or a angle.
Now I know the classic one is 45 degrees, right, Paul?
Yeah.
But do you play around with the angles, and why would you play around with them?
Yeah, so angles to maintain length, to remove more, to add more layers. So if we were to say, there's our 45 degree there and there, look at all that hair here, which is traveling all the way forward, which means this section here is going to be longer than it is here. So then we've got that length to go in. But if I was to then say, what about if we did this nearly, say, 90 degrees? So what sort of could that be? If we're looking at that 45, that could be something around about, what, 70? 70 degrees. And just look at how far that hair is traveling now. Normally it travels to there, but now we're traveling to here. So that means we're just going to get a shorter top layer. And that's just going to sit a little bit shorter towards the back of the haircut. But also, because this hair here is traveling that little bit more up here, we would get a little bit more length, because this isn't short, that's traveling there. We're sort of bringing that to where it comes out of the head. So we would lose maybe a little bit more length, minimal, but because we're not over directing there, we're bringing it to sort of natural position, sort of out of the head. We'd probably lose a little bit more length within the center of this section.
That'd be layered more. You get more layers.
It would be more, yeah, it'd be layered, sort of like the uniform layer.
Yeah, so the less angle you've got on it, the more layers you have. And the more of an angle you have on it, the longer the length is going to be.
Yeah.
Or the longer the layers, so to speak. Tony Candy's just made a good comment there. She says she does the one length on her friends with the inside out method. And that's a really good point, guys. All these haircuts that you see, all the STAFs doing these masterclasses, you know, if you go away and use your mannequin heads, you'll probably run out your mannequin heads, you know, quite quickly. But, you know, use them on your friends, you know, use them on your mum, use them on your uncle, or, you know, or part of the family. I mean, I'm sure when you was learning, Paul, you know, we didn't really have mannequins back then because the quality wasn't as good, certainly when I was learning.
Oh, they were so expensive. I know they're expensive still, but yeah, they were super expensive. Even the cheaper ones that you can find now were just a crazy price. So yeah, I mean, my mates, that's how I learned to skin fade. One of my mates thought because I was on a hairdressing course, I could skin fade. So he bought these clippers and he made me skin fade his hair. I didn't have a clue, but that's how we learn.
Absolutely. And the thing is, they forgive you, your friends and your family.
Yeah, they do.
You know, anything goes wrong, but you've got these videos to come back to, guys. You know, you can, you know, pause it, stop it, you know, start it again, go back. You know, so we really encourage you to try these recipes on one another or anybody you can. The more haircuts you can do on real people, the more confidence it's going to give you guys.
Absolutely. So you guys can see what I'm doing, yeah? So I'm just using that front piece of hair as my guide. It's basically the long grad. You can see my guide through there. And this is just taken out. And the 45-degree angle we're looking for is a 45-degree finger, but also that angle there, 45 degree. And then we just cut that hair in, making sure we keep the tension nice and tight because we don't want it to bag. If it bags, it means we could potentially get a little bit more length than we want to because the hair isn't traveling as tightly. So that was our first section. We're now on our second section. And I said we were doing this in 3.
And are you using the middle as your guide each time, Paul?
Yep. And like the long grad, everything
the long
comes
grad, bang in the middle each time.
Bang in the middle.
And guys, we didn't invent the names long grad and one length. We've gone with what they have always been called, just so that it's people can understand when we're talking about them. So no, we didn't invent the name.
No.
That's a good question though, because who knows? We invent a lot of that. I think that actually naming your haircuts, like what have you called this haircut, Paul?
The one length flow.
One length flow. So once you mash them up a little bit, I think it's really good to give them your own names. I think when you give them your own names, it gives them a character and people remember them as well.
So there it is. You can see the symmetry there. All that is the same length that's just kissing around the face, but that's where it ends. And then this is the length.
Which is disconnected completely.
Yeah. And with curling, we could get this sort of a diffuser in there and curl that. I mean, look at that already.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah.
And it's so commercial. And it just looks bang on, mate. It really does.
Let's just get the finished result so you can see. Let's give it a little shake so you can see how it all sits.
I mean, it looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sort of like 0 layers, there's no layers. I mean, look at that.
Where did that layer come to at the front again, Paul? Where was the shortest layer?
To the chin.
It was to the chin, like a classic long grade.
Yep. I wanted to keep it as simple as anything for you guys watching, so you can really relate to it. You can go shorter, you can go longer, but this, I mean, look at that.
It looks great, mate. It looks brilliant. What about around the back, Paul? Can you have a look around the back again? I mean, it looks really classy.
Yeah.
Really expensive as well. Really simple. I mean, sometimes, doing something simple is just as hard. And making it commercial, like you've done, is sometimes harder than doing something crazy, as you well know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've seen some of the masterclasses I've done during lockdown, and I mashed up a few to try and get your creative juices going. But I wanted to bring you something which is basically salon friendly, get you ready for the salon floor. I know some of you must qualify around about now. This is something you can use on the salon floor. I mean, who wouldn't be happy with that?
Yeah. And I think that if you did this in an interview or a trade test, the salon owner, everyone in the salon, stylist, I mean, how long they've been cutting hair, would be very impressed with what you've done there. Just the audacity of the simplicity of it. And how it's giving it the final look. I mean, it really is.
You went in for a trade test and they said, oh, we want something really commercial, creative, really bang on trend. And you said, oh yeah, I'm going to do a one length haircut. They'd be like, what?
Yeah.
But, oh, just wait. I'm going to spice it up around the front a little bit, but just wait until you see it. And yeah.
Very nice. Very, very nice. And it's completely what I love about it is the LSE pre-sectioning to a T of the one length below.
Yeah.
It is to a T. And that big triangle section, no, sorry, it's diamond section, right?
Triangle, yeah. So from recession to just below the
triangle section, it's just that section that's cut into a long grade.
Yeah. Super simple. I mean, we couldn't make it any more simple to give you a bang on trend haircut. I mean, this is a lot of what I'm doing at the minute in salon. People want all the length, all the density kept through there to make it look really nice and healthy. They want a little bit of freshen up around the face. And to freshen up around the face, you want to open them up. When you're looking at colour as well, if you're looking at sort of bringing colour into this, you could do a real nice soft money piece. This piece here, which is cascading through the neck, that could be highlighted. The rest could be left natural or could be taken a bit darker. But as long as we're opening up people's faces and really sort of complementing their features, that's what people want. And that's just something, salon floor is something that we do. You really want to be looking at how to exaggerate their features, give them something that they're happy with, easy to style. I mean, I shook her head upside down, and that's what it looks like.
It's lovely, mate. It really is.
Let's get that
beautiful. I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's what we're going to be bringing to you guys on this YouTube channel, regularly. LSE recipes that are stretched, they're squeezed, they're mashed up, keeping it commercial for you guys, but just giving you loads of styles within the techniques that you're learning at college. So hopefully giving you a really broad repertoire. So when you go out into the because let's face it, people are not going to come in and ask for, a long grade that's cut from there every time. They're going to bring in pictures where there's going to be a variety of different lengths and different shapes. And that's what these masterclasses are set up to do, guys. Just give you more confidence and more styles that you can create on people. Using the LSE recipes that you're learning every day in college.
Yeah, and that's just finished with lived in. So Lee Stafford lived in. I've just sprayed it in, gives a little bit of texture, but it just opens it all up. And this is here where it looks like it's sort of triangular layered. That's one length. That's the longest point of the hair down here. But just get a little bit of tweaking in there. Get your fingers and thumbs creating that bit of friction. That little bit of back comb just for placement.
It's very nice. I mean, I don't know how you're going to top this, mate. I can't wait to see the next live you do, because the bar is just going up every time.
Cool. I've got loads of mashups that I do. Like I said, I use these in salon, so it's not something that I just think, right, that and that'll do. I think the hardest thing is to come up with a name. So to think, right, so I mash that and that together, what could we call it?
Yeah.
But I think that's a great tip by you, calling your haircuts names, because you could be the hairdresser that does the one length flow in your area. And when somebody goes, say they leave you, say they can't get booked in with you, they go to another salon and say, I normally have a one length flow haircut. That hairdresser is going to be like, a what?
Yeah. It gives it a personality, doesn't it? It makes it yours. It makes it special when you give it a name. That's great, Paul. I mean, really, really impressed again, mate. And I hope that that's really helped you all. And like I said, you can keep coming back to this video. So practice it on anyone that you can practice it on. And if you do practice it, and I hope that you do try this, guys, as soon as possible, then send us some pictures. We'd love to see the results that you create. So thanks again, Paul. Thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll see you very, very soon, everybody. Have a great day.